The most beautiful woman in the world. Why do we think some people are beautiful? Do you have to look good to be beautiful? We often hear that Queen Cleopatra was one of the most beautiful people ever. Her story is amazing and dramatic. It involves powerful men and powerful empires of long ago. Cleopatra lived over 2,000 years ago. She was the queen of a country called Egypt in northern Africa. It is said that Cleopatra used her beauty, not just her intellect, to maintain her power. Ancient Egypt. Egypt is one of the most famous countries in the world. Although it is very dry and sandy, one great river runs through Egypt. This river is called the Nile. It is filled with crocodiles and fish. Most of Egypt's water comes from the Nile. Egypt is also famous for its pyramids. The pyramids were built as tombs for famous kings. The Queen's early life. Cleopatra was born into a powerful royal family in 69 BC in a city called Alexandria. Alexandria was a beautiful city with a famous library. Cleopatra lived a very luxurious lifestyle. She had 2 brothers and 2 sisters. Servants looked after her. She had lots of fashionable dresses and rare jewelry. From birth, she and other members of her family were declared to be gods and goddesses. In 51 BC, Cleopatra's father, King Ptolemy XII, died. Cleopatra was 18 years old. As the eldest child, she became the Queen of Egypt. At that time, a queen was not allowed to rule alone. She ruled with her younger brother, Ptolemy XIII. They got married, and they shared the throne. Ptolemy was only 10 years old, so Cleopatra was more powerful than him. This, however, made Ptolemy unhappy. Cleopatra and Julius Caesar. Ptolemy XIII removed Cleopatra from power, and she was forced to leave Egypt. Then, an important Roman general called Julius Caesar arrived in Egypt with his armies. Cleopatra wanted to meet Caesar secretly. She hoped he would take her side against her brother. So she returned to Egypt. She wrapped herself up in a rug and pretended the rug was a gift for Caesar. Her servant then carried the rug into Caesar's room. The rug was unrolled, and there was Cleopatra. She was very daring. Cleopatra delighted Julius Caesar. He thought she was beautiful, and he fell in love. He chose Cleopatra's side in the fight with Ptolemy. During the war, Ptolemy was killed. Cleopatra, with Roman military support, became the Queen of Egypt again. She now had a famous and important partner, Julius Caesar, who would later rule the Roman Empire. Was Cleopatra really beautiful? Honestly, we do not really know how beautiful Cleopatra was. Egyptian attitudes toward beauty were different from ours. Probably, she had a long, hooked nose, which was thought to be beautiful at the time. Nevertheless, Cleopatra's beauty wasn't really about her physical looks. She had an inner beauty. She had a charming character, and she was clever and charismatic. Cleopatra and Caesar had a baby boy, Ptolemy XV. But Caesar was already married. Roman law would not allow him to recognize his son as an heir. Back in Rome, some of Caesar's enemies thought he had become too strong. He was assassinated on March 15, 44 BC. When he was old enough, Cleopatra appointed her son to be king. He ruled together with his mother. Mark Antony. After Caesar's death, both Mark Antony and Octavian wanted to become ruler of Rome. They fought for control. During this time, Mark Antony invited Cleopatra to meet him in Turkey. Cleopatra arrived as if out of a dream. She came by boat and was dressed as a goddess. The boat was filled with flowers and perfume drifted across to Antony. The two of them fell in love. They also began a political alliance, which was probably what Cleopatra was most interested in. Cleopatra and Antony lived in great luxury. They went back to Egypt. They drank fine wine, played games, and hunted together. In 40 BC, they had twins. Antony, however, was back in Rome before the twins were born. An eventful few years passed, during which Antony and Cleopatra did not see each other. Antony's first wife died. Then he married Octavian's sister, and they had children. Finally, he saw Cleopatra again. He married her, even though he was still married to Octavian's sister. Octavian, obviously, did not approve. The Battle of Actium. The civil war between Octavian and Antony continued. They fought a great battle with ships. This was called the Battle of Actium. Cleopatra and her sailors were there too. She helped Antony, but she fled when she saw that things were going badly. Octavian had the advantage and won, but he did not capture Mark Antony, who was able to flee with some of his sailors. The Battle of Actium was the deciding battle in their struggle for power. Mark Antony became a fugitive. Octavian sent soldiers after Antony, but Octavian did not go himself. About a year passed before Octavian decided to go after Antony himself. During this time, Antony and Cleopatra were together in Egypt. Octavian arrived in Alexandria prepared for a battle, but Antony's men surrendered without a fight. Horrible deaths. Antony, in seeing all of this, decided to fall on his sword in the traditional Roman way. He did not, however, die immediately. He was taken to join Cleopatra with a big open wound in his belly. There he died, supposedly in her arms. Cleopatra tried to talk with Octavian. She tried to negotiate, but in the end she realized that she could not. About a week after Antony's death, Cleopatra ended her own life. Many say that she let a snake bite her. Cleopatra is still famous. There have been many books, films, and plays written about her. She won the love of two of the most famous and powerful men of her time, Julius Caesar and Mark Antony. And if the story of her death sounds familiar to you, it should. There are many similarities to it in William Shakespeare's Romeo and Juliet.